I'm suddenly really conscious about how I should say hello because of Caroline. Hello, everybody. I'm Dave. I'm a product director here at Trainline, and welcome. And thank you for the UXPA for coming and hanging out with us, and for us being able to have a chance to share our story of how we hacked our way to our first voice app. It's slightly different to my usual kind of presentation, kind of corporate keynote. Hopefully it should be a bit fun, talking about our hacking. So this is called Building a Voice App Guerrilla Style. So Guerrilla Style, what's that? Hacking. We got inspired when Google got in touch with us and said, hey, we're launching third-party apps on Google Voice. So an assistant, so do you want to get involved?
Best way to get from St Albans to Manchester by train is to catch Thameslink departing at 6:48 p.m. from St Albans City. It'll take about 3 hours and 6 minutes to get there, including 2 changes.
So I'm asking, are there any more changes?
Here are some results from a search.
Okay. I meant changes of train.
Here are some results from the web.
Okay, so really cool. Google Maps is pretty good. But when we started looking at it, we're thinking, hey, we could probably do trains better than this. Sorry, Google. And actually, Google agreed. And so we want to have a conversation with the train. There's lots of questions people have about traveling. We want to be able to go deeper, and I'll have a conversation with Trainline and really have a good understanding of the journey. So, of course, like every business, we're really busy. And loads of projects and products being developed. So actually getting time officially to work on the voice app was not #1 priority. So what we did was we created a new process for this. We call it guerrilla-agile, which you can go back to your managers and sell. Basically hacking on a Wednesday night. So to hack on a Wednesday night, you need to get the magic team together. We call it the Holy Trinity, product, design, and development. We had 1 product, 1 design, actually 2 developers hanging out. And this is the process, should you wish to replicate. So Wednesday nights, everybody's going home, you head off and you take over the boardroom. You order Deliveroo, ASAP, obviously. Good burgers nearby here, especially. Other good food providers are available. And then you start coding, hacking, and then on Fridays we have beer and pizza. And actually that's a great place to kind of guerrilla user test. And what we would do is we would take the hack of the week, and actually I would take over a little booth at the back there, and I would coax people over with beer and go, would you try my new voice bot? And then of course we want to iterate until we're good enough to release and make a happy, smiley person using our voice bot. And we were really ambitious. There are loads of questions people want to answer about trains. I want to go visit my nan this weekend in Manchester. What's the best way to get there? When's the last train home? Because I've had a few, and I want to stay out a bit longer. Is it raining when I'm going to get there? Should I take an umbrella? There is just a million things you want to ask the train bot, right? And so we started putting all these things into our voice bot, and we were really ambitious. And we started user testing. This was our first user testing. It literally understood nothing. It was just an embarrassment. This was our second and our third and our fourth user testing. And honestly, it did not get better. Some of the people in the room were probably user testing and will attest to the fact of how badly it did not recognize anything. So we kind of went back to the drawing board going, hold on, we're doing something wrong here. And we realized we had to start with the simplest atomic query. What is the atomic query that if you can answer this one thing, if you can understand this one thing, then you can build upon that to create a kind of a more richer and smarter voice engine. This is ours. Not Manchester itself, but a station or a city. Because if I can start to understand a station or a city, then I can start building on it. In each of your areas and businesses, there may be a different atomic query that you need to solve for. But this is ours. How many hands up? How many have actually built a voice or a chatbot in this room? Okay, so like 10%. Good, because this is kind of the ABC I wish I had when I started. And I tell you, it was a few people in the room who were hacking with me. It is a bit like watching lots and lots of YouTube videos with lots of smart people who've already done it. And they're not very good at going, well, here's the ABC of it. And this is what it is. So once you've been able to understand a station, then we can actually ask the question, the next obvious question for a train user, which is that your origin or destination? And this is called slot filling. Now, it's a magic word for filling out a form. Okay? It is not rocket science. They make it sound like rocket science, but it's not. So once you've been able to understand Manchester, and is that your origin or destination station? So the user replies, It's my destination. Bing, slot 1 is filled in my form. Now I can move on. But now I need to know the origin. So that's a really simple question. I know what to ask next. So which overground station are you leaving from? And I reply London. So now I've got the two pieces of information my voice bot needs to go to my journey planner, which we have in Trainline, being a train business, and we can come back and answer it. So hey, the next train from London Euston to Manchester Piccadilly leaves at 6:16 from platform 12. Now this is that moment, right, when you've got your first voice response. Somebody says a station and the voice bot goes, where are you leaving from? And then they get there and they get the answer back. It's like, wow, we've managed to create magic from this chaos. And then you start getting ambitious. You can start building on top of that. Here's an example. Sorry, you can't hear me. It says,
Okay, for that, you might like Trainline. Want to give them a try?
here actually this is a test app. I'm trying deep linking directly from Google here. So if you ask Google, it'll recommend Trainline right now.
Okay, let's get the test version of Trainline.
The closest train I can find leaves St Albans the 24th of February at 5:47, arriving at 8:46 to Manchester Piccadilly. It takes 2 hours and 59 minutes. To get in a little earlier, you could also take the 2048, 2207, 2327, anything else?
Yeah, I'd like to know, are there any changes?
There are 2 changes. St Albans Abbey Station at 6:22 and Watford Junction Station at 6:38. Anything else?
What do I ask? Oh, who's the train operator?
The train operator is London Midland. Anything else I can tell you?
Do I need an umbrella? Is it going to be raining? What's the weather going to be like? That's it.
Sure. The weather in Manchester is reported as sky is clear. Anything else I can help with?
I'd like to buy a ticket.
Tickets are available from £32 one way, subject to availability. Launch Trainline app for information about tickets and to make a booking. Can I help you?
So I hit the card and I deep link straight into our native app. So actually now, one tap, I'm in the checkout and I can buy a ticket. So that's pretty cool, right? So we started to go from a very basic, can I get a journey, to start layering on other information from other sources like the weather. We can't control the weather data, so you see slightly awkward phrasing in that, but hey, it gets the the start. So where do we go from there? Well, what have we learned? When it comes to things like voice bots, it's all about your training set. And it's basically how much have you user tested. And you can tell how good a voice bot is, but basically how much training there is in there. This is a little bit of our training set, and this is hard earned from lots of user testing. And every time somebody asks for a train journey a different way, and the train line doesn't understand you, we take that precious phrase and we put it in the voice bot, and then we tag it up. We say, you can see the orange tags the stations are destinations, the light blue tags are origins, and then there's time, dinner time tomorrow. So I'd like to get to Manchester by dinner time tomorrow, leaving from Birmingham. And to be honest, Trainline doesn't really understand dinner time. Google is really smart. You tell it dinner time, and it will come back and go, it's probably about 5 p.m., right? Unless you're a bit hungry, you know, have it a bit early, a bit brunch. But it's really good. It's really smart. And that's what the power of the kind of actions for Google platform is like. And there's lots of queries here. To get more user testing, we deployed the bot to Slack internally. So also we were using a platform called Dialogflow, where you could deploy to voice on Google. You can deploy to Slack, to Twitter, to all these different channels. So we created a Slack bot called Emily. And here's an example of Rob, our head of design, actually, who's been testing the chatbot. So you could chat with it with type as well as voice. And here he said, set up my commute. And Emily asks, what's your home station? He says, Letchworth. Emily says, okay, what is your home station? So clearly, and he says, Letchworth Garden City. And Emily goes, how long does it take you to get there from your home? So at that point, we realized, there's a training set issue here. It's not understanding that Letchworth is actually a part of Letchworth Garden City, and we have to go back in there and create synonyms for station names and place names, and it's all about that training set. This is about dog fooding it internally, using your own product a lot. Actually, our app has 12 levels of conversation, so you can ask it for a train journey, you can keep asking lots and lots of different questions about it. It doesn't just cut you off at the beginning. So how did we do that? So most kind of voice apps are built a bit like this. This is a bit high level. So you usually have like a main kind of intent, which is there to understand what you're looking for. And then it's got a few funnels it wants to put you down. And when you're in that funnel, a bit like kind of a booking path on a website, you're in that flow and you're not getting out of it. So if you ask something else, say like, halfway through this, you ask what the web is, it's going to go, I don't understand you, because I'm down in deep in the journey planning route. So what we did was we architected a bit like this, incredibly wide and flat. So all of the intents, which is the kind of logic, can talk to all of the others. And it's actually about the training in each of those intents that knows how to direct it. So at any point you want to ask more information, you can jump around and get more information about it. If you want to know more about this afterwards, you can come and talk to me. We're also getting really ambitious now. So, we've built a working bot, we're feeling cocky. Now we're like, okay, we want to have, what's something people do? They commute, right? I want to be able to get up in the morning and hear about my commute without having to tell it the origin station, the destination station, and the time, right? I just want to ask it my commute. So, and we realized that first-time users are not going to be able to do that. They need to be shown, what's the capabilities of this voice bot. So for a first-time user, Trainline will go, hey, Trainline here, tell me about your departure and arrival stations, when you'd like to travel, and I can give you train times. For inspiration, ask me what can you do at any time. How can I help you today? So for a first-time user, we've already kind of suggested the syntax you might use to get the best result, which was very helpful. The repeat user, they're thinking, well, really, do I want to say this every time I need a train? No, I want to tell it the commute. So now, the second time you ask Trainline, it'll say, hey, Trainline here, do you want to set up a commute? And you can set up your commute by telling it your home and work, and then just asking for your commute. You've done this, now you're super comfortable with the voice bot from Trainline. You're a repeat customer, you're there for speed. So the next time Trainline wakes up and you talk to it, it says, hey, Trainline here, how can I help? No dawdling around, you know what you want, you're halfway out the door already saying, how's my commute? And this is what it's like. Let me give you an example. How's my commute home looking?
Including 8 minutes travel time to Farringdon, your best match leaves Farringdon on the 21st of February, leaving at 19:15 from platform 4. It will take 25 minutes to get to St Albans, arriving at 19:40, and the weather is reported as light rain. Anything else? Smoke me a kipper, I'll be back for breakfast.
All right. If anybody gets the reference of that, bonus points for you. So now this is where, from all the user tests, we realized that users literally have no respect for user experience design or for technology or for everything we've learned. We build these websites and apps that have steps in, right? So the first step is I have a search form and I get some results, then I pick a thing and I add it to my basket and I check it out. Users don't give a damn. When they start using voice apps like this guy, they're an amateur dude who's acting like a superhero. Because literally, they want the good stuff right away. They want to know, I want a cheap ticket to Manchester this Saturday, no more than £15, arriving at 9 a.m., preferably not later than 10 a.m., to go and see my nan, and they want to throw everything at it, and they expect the Trainline voice app to be as smart as a human. They just have that expectation. Because it's a voice app, they act like this. So when we compare this to our native app today, it's all about speed, really. So on the left-hand side, we have the mobile app doing a London to Manchester search. On the right-hand side, we have the voice app, head-to-head.
Your best match leaves London used.
Right. So I've cut the sound off, but there we are, a few seconds in. They're still picking the date and time in our native app, which, by the way, I'm the product owner of. I think is awesome. So I'm a product owner of the voice app, and here we are, sometime later. In fact, 26 seconds later, our native app comes in. Voice app takes the day. And I'll give you a prediction. Anything that can get you to the thing you're looking for faster than the older thing wins, right? You're going to use that thing. This is going to take over. And my prediction is in the next 5 years, we will see not just customer services and things, we will see core businesses being done by voice. And I expect half our sales to come within 5 years from voice. Look at some stats. Smart devices like Echo, Home, and Sonos will be in 55% of US households by the year 2022. But that's just the devices you build and plug in. Google's already enabled the whole of Android. Apple's coming along as well. Hopefully Siri will get a bit smarter soon. I don't know about the other ones, but they're everywhere. They're already in our pockets, right? And if it's faster to use the voice app than it is to use our native app, that's where we'll be. So I'll leave you with a couple of things. What's great about voice apps and kind of what's not so great about voice apps, just our observations. So it's really cool. It's not rocket science, actually. Iteration is really fast. One of those daunting things about trying a new technology is, will I get anything out of it quickly? And actually with voice platforms, you can really prototype in minutes and have something working. Probably not working very well, but you can test it and improve it. Product and design can iterate quickly and in parallel to development. So what I noticed was sitting around a table, we would whiteboard up a flow. We're like, hey, let's build this flow. We want to do arrive-by searches for trains. And we could be sketching out and making the kind of responses in the UI. And the developers could be kind of connecting up the webhooks to our back end. And then we would come together literally half an hour later and try out this new feature. So you can work in parallel, which is super cool. If you use tools like Dialogflow or Wit AI or other platforms, you can deploy your app to many surface areas, which is great. So we can deploy to Google, Alexa, Messenger, Slack, Twitter, or even our IVR. So we have a contact center. We have hundreds of people on the call center, in fact. And in fact, we could start bringing in our voice engine through our voice response on the telephone. Awesomely, accessibility takes a giant leap forward, right? If you're using typing and voice, you don't necessarily need all the capabilities. That hard-earned badge of accessibility on your website and app, you're going to get it out of the box with voice and typing. And I guess lastly, voice. I've been here before. I don't know anybody here has been here like a few years ago. Voice is going to take over the world. It's really great. And you're like, you try it and it doesn't understand a thing. And voice recognition is just off the charts good right now. And you can see it almost on a daily basis, learning and getting better. What's not so great about voice apps? There's quite a few things that are sucking right now, but that's part or parcel of being a new technology. Discoverability is terrible. There was the genius idea that we don't need an app store. Once you've launched a voice app, it can be available on everybody's phones everywhere. And then nobody knows about it because you didn't tell them about it, right? So now actually, we need an app store because we need to tell people we put the thing everywhere. So I think you see companies working on that now. We are kind of hardwired through our education and our practice to have hard links between, you click a button, it goes to here. You click this navigation, it goes down there. Voice is not like that. You have to train a relationship. And sometimes it doesn't like to obey you and you have to train it better. And it's more, we're not designed to think in networks when the tools really aren't there to help us manage that either. For developers in the room, just general lack of tooling, version control, automation tests. How good is the app performing right now? It's in production. Is it up? I don't know. Is it working very well? Who knows? Reliability is tough right now, I would say. There's a lack of decent error messages. Just sort of goes, can I get the chimes from London to Manchester? Bye. And you're like, oh, sorry, there's some timeout issue, or there was something. It just says bye. It actually errors out in English language and says just bugger off, basically. It's not cool. We need to work on that. And I'll leave you lastly with this last example of, voice is super cool, but sometimes devices should be seen, but not heard. So I got excited. I got Google Home, got it by the bedside. I got a light, the bedside light plugged into it, so I can lie in bed. And then when I'm ready to go to sleep, just okay, Google, turn off the light. And this was my experience.
Hey Google, turn off the bedroom light.
There you go, turning off the bed light.
Suddenly I'm not so sleepy anymore. So sometimes you just do what you ask, maybe not tell you about it every time. So what's next? We've launched this app, this voice app out there. It's really early days, but we're also now building a voice and chat team, be able to show it internally, and people got very excited about it. And actually, we've got our first kind of full-time developer working on it, which is super cool. We're working on things like transactions and working with our data science team to expose some of their innovation through enhanced disruption information. Lastly, I'd like to thank Alex, Akshay, Gareth, and the Google tech team from Google who hacked with us, and also John for paying the delivery bill. He's my boss. And that's it. Thank you. Oh, questions?
Any questions? Yeah, there's one down here.
So I had a question about if you're using the voice bot and you're given this information, auditorily, so you're just on the train, you're not looking at your phone. Have you looked at all at how easily people can retain that verbal information to actually solve their problem? Because it seems like the messages can be quite long with several times, and it's said in a, at a nice pace, but ultimately I kept thinking, I want to see it in front of me, and I want to flick through and choose what I want visually, because it's in parallel there in front of me, rather than being serially read out. Have you looked into that at all?
Yeah, I think there's feedback. One of the challenges I think with the tooling is that it doesn't really know how smart you are at trains. Like most people tend to be like, there's no one way of asking for train times. So somebody, if you've got, even in train line, you might know to ask like origin, destination, and time, but people tend to give you that piecemeal information. And we did notice in testing that, long phrases are hard to retain, but the tooling's not really there to go, okay, well, we're going to try and break this up into chunks and go, tell me some more, this, right? But that's why we have that ability to kind of ask more about it, right? Go like, okay, what was the changes again? What was the important thing you kind of missed? What time does it leave again? You can ask all that stuff and put it out if you didn't get it. So it's a sort of more of a fallback handling than a knowing you, and it should be smarter about knowing you, I'd say, yeah.
Anyone else?
Thank you. That was really informative. Thanks very much. I'm going to ask a question which is maybe a little bit industry geekery, so maybe it's balanced by a much more kind of broad question earlier. But yeah, just regards user inputs from voice compared to more let's say, traditional, but other interaction forms. It can be quite more less guided, at least initially. So I'm just wondering how you as a team approach that in the development process, and to the extent that you used or disregarded maybe traditional flows and the like in the process.
Where do we start? I think we started with what did we want, what problems did we want to solve, what voice could solve, which was also about getting times. And I think the journey I showed was a little bit like, you can go into this really over-ambitiously, and actually you do need some structure for this. You do need to figure out these workflows to help you get good results out of it. I think what we realized was that even with that structure, it does completely challenge the way that we think about applications, because as a user in voice, you can start at the end and go back to the beginning and go up the middle and then ask something completely over here. And people just really don't care if your technology can do it or not, but you have to be there listening to users when they're using it going, oh, they actually really do think we know this stuff. Maybe we should go and get that data so they can actually answer that query. Or maybe we shouldn't have such a fixed way that we query our systems, our services, so that we bring back data. We should have a more flexible way that we can jump in at any point, even to the point of just saying, buy me the ticket I bought last Saturday for my wife. Like, I know what that was, right? Why can the machine not know that as well? So, I don't know if that answers the question. I think it says, think about the user flows and then blow it up by user testing it. Pretty much. Cool. Well, thank you very much.